Hey, Daddy, this is the man of the champions, Bill Fonzie Alfonso, giving a shout out to something else. Something else, Daddy.
This is Nikolai Volkoff, Great Warrior Wolf, and you are listening to Something Else.
I'm Tony Cini, and you're listening to Something Else.
Hey everybody, it's Rich Palladino, the voice of New England, and you are listening to Something Else with Arya.
And welcome to episode number 139 of Something Else. Yes, this is the real episode number 139, despite what you may have heard at the beginning of a show that posted yesterday. Feast your ear holes on this week's episode as we take a look at Mid-South Wrestling and World-Class Championship Wrestling from 41 years and 1 day ago this week, November 5th, 1983. My name is Arya, and joining me, as always, is the yo-yo. It's all about the boom to my shock the system. It's Trae. Trae, how the hell are you?
I liked remember his Ring of Honor theme?
I was
It was
listening to
like
that
the
on
theme
YouTube the other
theme.
day. It was a kick-ass theme.
It was. That was a great theme. Yeah, I'm cool. It's kind of been a week here on Tuesday evening. It's already been a week. I apologize to the listener for the shows being out of order. We were meant to record on Monday night, and I ended up traveling. So I stayed up Sunday night to watch Power Struggle, and it was during the entrances for the semi-main event between David Finlay and Taichi. I see, the light come on in my wife's bathroom. I'm like, okay, she just got to go to the bathroom. Nothing. And then she comes in. I'm like, oh dear. And then she tells me, so it's, I always call him my brother-in-law. My wife's sister's husband passed away, and we weren't exactly like counting the days or anything, but it also wasn't a surprise. He was a renal patient, and also he had I think, something like 6 significant cardiac events in the last year. So it was, yeah. So we had to drop everything and come to Arkansas to take care of family. So yeah, and you offered me the week off, and I'm like, yeah, let's just go ahead and do the show Tuesday night. So here we are, waiting for the biggest STD test result in American history, and I'm here with my family in mourning, and I'm already drinking. So this is going to be a fantastic podcast.
So, you know, again, just want to pass along my condolences to you and your family and hope, especially your sister-in-law,
Yeah,
hopefully things get better for her. Yeah. I mean, by the
yeah, it
sounds
is
of it,
like, yeah,
it wasn't a huge surprise. It doesn't make it any better, but at least, it wasn't completely out of the blue, I guess.
yeah. It's not, and I'm sure she had done some partial preparing for it, but it's, yeah, like, I don't know. My brother, like we didn't like call or text each other or anything, but anytime we were together for holidays and stuff, we always got along real well. We got stoned together, and we had like a lot of the like we liked a lot of the same movies and type of stuff, so we got along real well. And I'm hate it for my sister-in-law. Hate it for he has a son who's about 18, 19, who's here was living with them. I feel terrible for them, and I'll miss him as well. But you know, when something like that happens, you gotta drop everything and go be with your family. So that's what we're
Oh,
doing.
definitely. And I mean, that's why I was like, hey, like, because, there are going to be weeks at the end of this year where, Mid-South is in best of and there's some missing episodes here and there. We have some weeks to work with. We could have pushed this back a week and caught up. But I mean, hey, If you can go, great. Let's, kick some ass here tonight. So by and large, we as a podcast tend to stay away from getting super political. Now, if you speak to either of us for longer than like 30 seconds, you can figure out what side of the aisle we stand on. I just, I do want to say, I want everyone remembering that tomorrow morning, your neighbor is still going to be your neighbor, your family, your work colleagues, your friends, the guy you walk by in the morning, the weirdo on the street, they're still going to be there tomorrow. And all this stupid fucking shit is going to be over for another 4 years. And it's time, like, tomorrow morning, nothing we do is going to fix what happens tonight as we're recording this. And half of us are going to be really pissed off about what happens, and half of us are going to be really fucking happy. And unfortunately, it's like there's nothing you can do. There's nothing we can do to change that. It happened. You know, if your person won, great, I'm happy for you. If your person lost, it really fucking sucks. But at the end of the day, nothing that we do or say tomorrow morning is going to change what happened tonight. We have to stand up. We have to sit here and be like, okay, let's move on with our fucking lives. If you're sitting there and you're one of those people, you work with 100 people who all voted for the other candidates, bring your AirPods to work tomorrow and listen to this fucking show. But at the end of the day, I know political discourse is fucking insane right now. We are a long way from getting political discourse back to at least to where it was, even 10 years ago. We're a fucking long way away from that. But you know something? Maybe we can finally take a step in that direction. And no matter what happens, tomorrow morning, we're all still going to be here. We're all still going to wake up. If you weren't going to wake up tomorrow morning, you weren't going to wake up tomorrow morning no matter who won the election. You know, just breathe in, breathe out, and do what you can until it's time for the next election in 4 years. And I mean, that's all I'm
Yeah,
going to say about that.
I'm gonna say I don't know. I'm not gonna say anything. Look, if you have the slightest bit of intellectual and or moral courage, you know what the right thing to do was, and if you did the other thing, that was a choice you make, and you've got to live with it. And look, no matter what happens, I know that I'm gonna look myself in the mirror tomorrow and know that I did my Republican duty, lowercase r Republican. I did my Republican duty, and hope you did yours. I personally I voted to renew the Republic for another 4 years because I'm I'm a I'm a I'm a fan. I guess it's not perfect, but it's ours. So you guys know, or some of you know, I'm a failed historian, and the thing that just keeps sticking out to me was when they wrote the Constitution in 1789, and they got it ratified. Someone asked Benjamin Franklin, well, "What do we have? Do we have a monarchy or a republic?" And Benjamin Franklin replied, "A republic if you can keep it."
Strong
Just
words.
let the weight of that soak in. Anyway, let's talk about some fucking wrestling, huh?
Let's talk about some fucking wrestling from 51 weeks before I was born, November 5th, 1983. Let's go to the intro with a very purple Boyd Pierce and this week's guest host, Cowboy Bill Watts.
Hello, wrestling fans, and welcome to Mid-South Wrestling Television Network. I'm your host, Boyd Pierce, and we have a lot of exciting action. The Mid-South Tag Team titles will be on the line. Hacksaw Butch Reed and Jim the Anvil Neidhart take on, listen to this, Hacksaw Jim Duggan and the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. Another wild battle will see the Junkyard Dog in the ring against Big Bobby Duncum. We have all the top stars here. We have a top star to tell you about it. The expert commentator is our guest, Cowboy Bill Watts.
Well, thanks, Boyd, and I'm so proud of Mid-South. I tell you, it's got tons of mail because the people realize that Mid-South want the people to be well represented also. And you mentioned the Junkyard Dog, and that's the whole crux of the matter. The Junkyard Dog is the North American champion in the most unusual circumstances. I think you said it so well. In over 30 years you'd ever heard of a wrestling organization standing up and reverting back, stripping the title from Nikolai Volkoff through a series of events, putting it back on Reed and making Reed wrestle the man the people had selected 3 weeks ago, the Junkyard Dog, and then at great expense, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, was the surprise referee. Let's rejoin Reeser Bowden for that great announcement that happened here last week.
All right. So this week, the big match, the tag team championship is on the line. Jim Neidhart and Butch Reed versus Dusty Rhodes and Jim Duggan. We're going to have Junkyard Dog versus Bobby Duncum Sr. And then, of course, we recap what happened last week where Nikolai Volkoff did not beat Magnum TA for the North American title. Magnum TA did not beat Butch Reed for the North American title, but Junkyard Dog did beat Butch Reed for the North American title. Now, I do question, ignoring, the obvious favoritism and all this, why wasn't TA given a title shot last week?
Why isn't Nikolai Volkoff getting a title shot this week?
Because Bobby Duncum Sr. is in the territory this week.
And by the way, I like how he's Bobby Duncum Sr., even though his son was like only in a prominent position for like 5 minutes in the late 90s.
I can never not call him Bobby Duncum Sr. It's like if we were watching WWF from 1965, it would be Vince Sr.
Chavo Guerrero Sr., the same thing.
Yeah. Or Chavo Classic. Maybe we should call him
exactly.
Bobby Duncum Classic.
Yeah, there you go.
I'll be honest, like Chavo Classic, like I love that whole gimmick.
Yeah,
It's one time that Vince's fucking insanity, made me laugh. Like we can't call somebody senior, we can't call somebody junior. And so how do we get around having two Chavo Guerreros on the show? Chavo Classic.
Yeah. So if the reader has never heard this, the story is, and I completely believe this, that Vince hated being called junior so fucking much that he would never let anybody on his show be called anything junior. So that's why, when Chavo Guerrero Jr. came in, or when Rey Mysterio Jr. came in, they were just Chavo Guerrero and Rey Mysterio. I bet he just about had an apoplexy letting Zack Sabre Jr. in the Cruiserweight Classic.
No one bothered to tell him what EC3 stood for. Oh, Lord. I mean, Vince's number one, Vince's insanity, but Vince's defense to that, I guess I could understand because his father was Vincent James McMahon and he's Vincent Kennedy McMahon. So they don't have the exact same name. Thus, he's not a junior.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
I mean, I'm a third, which is why I've been Trae my whole life. I don't know. And there have been times that I'm like, man, I wish I had just been given my own name, which my name was Trae, but like that's not on any of my government documents.
Really?
Yeah, Trae is just the third.
I legitimately thought that was your name.
I mean, as what my parents called me since I was born, but that's not my government name.
Interesting. All right. Hey, and for the longest time I thought Aubrey Edwards' real name was Aubrey Edwards, so
Is it not?
what can I say?
I don't know.
I need to ask her one day how the hell she came up with that name. Like how people in wrestling come.
The one that comes up with that a lot is Adam Cole, because it's such a generic name. They're like, well, of course that's his real name. Wait, no, it's not. His name is Austin Jenkins.
I think it was Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin that I'm like, well, of course their real names are Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin. Who sits here and comes up with the names Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin? But those are not Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin's real names.
Yeah, it's a funny thing.
Yeah. So note to self, ask Aubrey how she came up with Aubrey Edwards, because that's just random, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of random and people possibly using their real names, we had tag team champions Jim Neidhart and Butch Reed going 2-on-2 with Dusty Rhodes and Hacksaw Jim Duggan for the World Tag Team Championship of the World of Mid-South. So
We had
even though this match is between four Americans, geopolitical Bill Watts got to randomly complain about Russia during this match. Um, we do find out that this is the only official match, as everything else is a standby match this week, including the match that features the North American Heavyweight Champion. You know, that is a standby match this week. Go figure.
It's not a title match.
Yeah. As we mentioned last week, they're doing a really weird little angle here with I'm not Junkyard Dog, but Jim Duggan and Jim Neidhart. That Neidhart has a problem with Duggan's cleanliness, mentioning that he has fleas and lice in his beard, and Duggan doesn't even deny it. Duggan just says he has the right as an American to do as he pleases. And I guess that means if he has lice and fleas in his beard, then so be it. God damn you.
Yes, but I don't know if Jim Duggan and Jim Neidhart were standing side by side, I might. And you asked me which one had a hygiene problem, I'd probably guess both of them.
I was gonna say, like, if you were gonna say Neidhart and not Duggan, I'm like, that's a little crazy in my opinion. But yeah, like, I I can only imagine, how often Jim Neidhart washes his goatee. But
Yeah,
um, mhm.
I'm a beard wearer. I've uh, I've had some form of facial hair since I was like 15. I've had a full beard full time for like close to 10 years. Uh, and I have always wanted to grow a really long beard, and it just doesn't work for me because when my beard gets about 2 inches long, it just starts to curl under itself. And my wife has made it clear that I am far more handsome when my beard is nicely manicured.
Well, you got to listen to the wife sometimes.
Yeah,
Obviously, we
exactly.
mentioned last week, there's a reason you two are married. But yeah,
Exactly.
sometimes you just have to acquiesce to what she wants and needs.
Yeah.
Um, Speaking of randomness, Butch Reed has said he's going to paint a stripe up Junkyard Dog's back, and Watts said that JYD will have to be on his deathbed in order for that to happen. So with that said, can we prove that Reed wasn't behind the car accident Dog was in on his way home from his daughter's high school graduation?
No, I don't know if anybody's ever looked into that.
Yeah. I mean, Butch Reed is so adamant that he wants to paint the yellow streak up Dog's back, and Watts said it would have to be over his dead body. You think Watts reached out to the Charlotte, North Carolina police and what's his name, Doug Dillinger? I don't know if that's where Dog was living when he died. I just kind of assume.
I believe he was. I think he lived in Mississippi. I think he was
Oh,
traveling. He was traveling back to Mississippi from North Carolina, if I remember right.
well, get Doug Dillinger on the phone. I don't even know if
Is
Doug
Doug
Dillinger is
Dillinger
still
still alive?
alive. I I don't know.
Hmm.
Let's see here. Dear Google, is Doug Dillinger still alive? No, not Doug Dimmadome of the Dimsdale
Well,
Dimmadome.
we know Doug Dimmadome will live forever.
That's right, Doug Dimmadome of the Dimsdale Dimmadome. Um, I don't see anything that says whether or not he's still alive or not.
Yeah, I feel like if
Um,
he had passed, we would have heard about it, or there would be something about it.
I mean, this was Utah. I was going to say there is somebody in West Valley City, Utah, named Doug Dillinger who died in 2012. But I mean,
What could
I
Doug Dillinger be doing in Utah?
yeah. Let's see. Well, Doug Dillon, God damn it, ads. Doug Dillinger of Charlotte passed away peacefully, surrounded by his family on Saturday, January 6, 2014. He had a long history in the healthcare field. He went to church apparently, and these stupid pop-up ads are going to be the death of me. He watched football. Okay, this is either not that Doug Dillinger. Um, well, this says Doug is preceded in death by his father, a former Charlotte police officer. Oh, that was Jesse Albert Dillinger. So Doug Dillinger might be dead. He might be alive. If Doug Dillinger is alive, someone get him on the phone because we need to check to see if Butch Reed is behind the death of Junkyard Dog.
If Doug Dillinger is still with us, he's almost certainly listening to the podcast.
I mean, I can't imagine why he wouldn't be. That made me
So
ask another
before,
question. By the way, to answer the question I didn't ask, Butch Reed is not still alive.
oh yeah, I barely remember that. It's been a while, right?
Yeah, 2021.
Oh yeah. Now, before we get to the finish of this match, which is amazing in its own right, I want to talk about something. There is an aspect of classic pro wrestling that has been lost in the modern day, and it is because everyone is trained to work for the hard camera. These were
Hmm.
the days when wrestlers worked so the fans in the nosebleeds could see what was happening. They were much more animated in their movements. When you're working for HD TV cameras, you want everything to look really tight. But when they were working for the live audience, everything looked bigger. And that is something that I have contemplated a lot, and I was thinking about it here just watching how Dusty moved. But watching stuff like this, like if you've only ever seen modern wrestling, you need to watch some stuff like this because it gives you an entirely different perspective on what good work is. Dusty was very much Dusty Rhodes here, and it was fantastic.
Well, they get the heat on Duggan, but Neidhart misses an elbow, leading to the hot tag and the four-way. Dusty had Neidhart pinned with a running crossbody, but Reed pulled him out of the ring, and Nikolai Volkoff randomly runs down to hit Dusty Rhodes with a bag of wheat for the disqualification. In
I was
case you did
so
not, in
I
case
was
you
so
did not
happy
pay
about
attention
this.
last week, Nikolai Volkoff, in his anger after being screwed out of the North American title, started coming to the ring with a bag of wheat, and this week hit Dusty with the bag of wheat.
And we made fun of the whole bag of weed thing last week, and then the fact that they brought it back and actually used it for an angle here, I thought was fantastic that they actually did something with that.
I mean, to be fair, it is, it was the same taping.
Yes, yeah, it was, but I don't know. I just it's a bag of wheat, whatever. I thought it was just a pretext for geopolitical Bill Watts, which we'll talk more about pretext for geopolitical Bill Watts. But I really really liked that they did something with the bag of wheat.
Well, after the match, I couldn't stop laughing because as Reed and Neidhart are beating the shit out of Jim Duggan, Reeser Bowden just nonchalantly walks up to the ring carrying the tag team titles to give to the champions. And I was like, okay, you really are into this angle, Reeser. Uh, and by the way, Magnum TA and Junkyard Dog went in for the save because Dusty was knocked the fuck out by that bag of wheat.
Yeah, it was pretty fucking heavy bag of wheat.
A bag of wheat, a bag of wheat. Everyone gets knocked out with a bag of wheat, a bag of wheat, a bag of wheat. Everyone gets knocked out with a bag of wheat.
You can feel free to knock me out with a bag of weed anytime you want.
Sounds good. I'll keep that in mind. Well, because this match did not go to the 60-minute time limit, we do have to go to our standby matches featuring North American Heavyweight Champion Junkyard Dog versus Bobby Duncum Sr. Now, did you notice that when Dog came out, he did not come out with the belt, nor was he introduced as the champion?
I did notice that. I didn't. I noticed he didn't have the belt. I guess I didn't really register that he wasn't announced as champion either. But yeah,
Is it possible that they taped this match before they taped last week's matches?
it's certainly theoretically possible.
Oh, well. Apparently, this is where the announcers were complaining. We mentioned this last week, but this is where it really became notable that apparently Watts is being complained to by the fans because Watts and Boyd just go off about how fans are complaining about all the run-ins, and Watts went off about how the referees are doing the best they can, and how main event wrestlers can't just stop wrestling and begin refereeing because they'd be giving up a lot of money. And so, yeah, Watts doesn't say shit like this if there wasn't a reason for it. And Watts is definitely getting complaints by fans about the repetitive booking of these TV matches.
Was there anything in the Observer about that or anything? Was that what he had a
Um,
bugbear
I,
about?
I mean, Dave, I know at some point did complain about it, but I mean, I don't really know the release schedule of those old observers because, like, you get stuff in January that says January 84 and February 84, and they're talking about November of 83. So it's like, I don't know when, they would have received an observer from Dave complaining about, the booking in October of 83.
Who in the Mid South office do you think actually subscribed to the Observer? I bet it was Joel. What's his name? Joel Armstrong.
Yes. Or Bill's wife. Or maybe
Yeah,
Reeser. Reeser seems like the kind of guy who would get the subscription to the Observer.
yeah, he seems like the type. But I bet it was. I bet it was Joel. He was a kind of a wrestling nerd, from what I hear.
By the way, it was during this match that I realized that last week Max came off the top rope when he got caught by TA with a belly-to-belly suplex, which just tells you, A, that I watched these damn shows like 2 weeks ago, and B, we're just ignoring the rules when it's fun to ignore them. By the way, Dog
Well,
wins with a thumb.
yeah. Technically, the link didn't connect, so it was, I guess that's okay. If it's okay to do it when you do a fucking backflip, or you do it when you're Mil Mascaras, I guess it's okay. Okay when you don't actually do anything.
Yes, but Max is
So,
no Mil Mascaras.
yeah, write that down. Max the missing link is no Mil Mascaras. So this was a nice little enhancement match for Dog. I thought, like Bobby Duncum
Hmm.
bumps and feeds like a motherfucker. Like I'm surprised that he's not getting pushed here. Like he's a good worker. He's got a name. I think he had already main evented MSG against Bob Backlund at this point. Like I don't know why he's doing jobs.
I mean, Backlund's about to lose the title, so I'd hope he's already had his run in Madison
That's
Square
right.
Garden with him.
I wasn't even thinking about that. So yeah, they had already done the Bobby Duncum and Backlund program.
Um, I could be wrong, and I'm trying to look it up right now, but I think Bobby Duncum is a one and doneer, or a two
Well,
and doneer, a one TV taping and doneer.
yeah, that's true. Maybe he's just passing through.
Let me see. Well, yeah, he had two house shows before this and two house shows after it, and they were all Houston shows. So, in case you care, Bobby Duncum defeated George Weingroff's giant penis and Tony Torres before he lost two straight matches to Dr. Death Steve Williams, and that's it for Bobby Duncum.
So he just come in for a week or whatever.
Um, a little more than that. I only looked up what his Mid-South was. Let me see what else he was doing at the same time, because I mean, I can't imagine he only wrestled 5 matches in like 3 weeks. Apparently he wrestled 5 matches in about 3 weeks. He was
Huh.
in Florida, and then he spent a couple weeks here before going to New Japan for the MSG Tag League 83.
Oh, nice. Who did you team with?
Uh, Kurt Hennig,
Oh, that's
really?
probably a pretty neat team.
I know, especially since Hennig teamed with Duncum's son.
The
So,
original West Texas Rednecks.
so, oh my God, don't ask me what led to me looking this up yesterday because I don't even know. And I was going to bring this up, but you were busy, dealing with, some real life shit. You're a Japanese wrestling historian. Please explain the 2002 All Japan Tag League.
Okay, what about it in particular?
So, 2002, post WCW, post ECW, first few months of TNA. Keep in mind the era. The winners
Hmm.
were Taiyo Kiya and Satoshi Kojima. Perfectly fine winners. I'd never seen them wrestle as a team, but I'm sure they were just fine. Teams 2, 3, and 4. Tenru and John Tenta were the second place team. The third place team were Keiji Muto and Road Warrior Animal, or Animal Warrior.
Hmm.
And number 4 was Mike Rotundo and Dr. Death Steve Williams.
Varsity Club in 2002. Wow.
Yeah.
Didn't they win? They won in like 2001, maybe? Let me look here. I've got it pulled up now.
Taiyo Kiya and Keiji Muto, yeah, won in 2001. That was a fucking tournament with Don and Ron Harris in it too. Like, no wonder All Japan sucked.
It
Rotunda and
was
Williams won.
2000.
Yeah, they won in
2000, Steve
2000.
Williams. So yeah, these were the very darkest days of All Japan after, there was the split in the middle of 2000 when Masawa broke away to form Pro Wrestling Noah and took every native talent except for Toshiaki Kawada and Masanobu Fuchi. And then they did what kind of kept them alive was they had the interpromotional feud with New Japan that was funny. Keiji Muto, as a New Japan wrestler, won the Triple Crown, and then by the end of the feud, went native, so to speak, and actually jumped to All Japan and became the president of the company. And he would stay with All Japan until some other shit happened. It's funny if you look at the history of Japanese wrestling. This isn't really the case in American wrestling. It's very different, but it's specifically Japanese wrestling. Most of the history, you could probably do a fantastic flow chart, and I think maybe somebody has before that, like all of these promotions that resulted from just an existing promotion splitting, like the original, like the JWA splitting. It was essentially forming Inoki forming New Japan and Baba forming All Japan, and then there's been like 3 All Japan mass exoduses because there was the Tenru SWS one in 1990, and the Masawa Noah one in 2000, and then the Muto Wrestle one in like 2012, 2013. But yeah, 2002 was a rough period for All Japan, and this is like some very Tenru and Tenta. Well, they have the sumo connection, so that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean,
Muto,
yeah, but
Animal
it's
Warriors.
2002.
Hey,
Like that's the
okay.
part that I
Now,
gotta
to be
keep
fair,
saying.
now I don't know what John Tenta was working like in 2002. Tenru, when I first got into Japanese wrestling, that was the period of grumpy old man Tenru, and he was fucking fantastic. Like some of my earliest memories of Japanese wrestling are like Tenru in his mid 50s as an ornery old man beating the fuck out of young like Shinsuke Nakamura and Katsuyori Shibata and Hiroshi Tanahashi and Kenta. So yeah, I'm not gonna diss on using Tenru, but then well, you got like Williams and Rotunda had the history. You've got Otani and Masato Tanaka from 01, and Yoji Anjo and Mitsuya Nagai. That's underneath. Mike Awesome and PJ Friedman. I don't really even know who PJ Friedman is. I know the name very limitedly. And like Arashi and Nobutaka Araya. This was. Oh, I would have to look, but I bet just looking at this list, I would assume that this is the weakest real world tag league lineup going from 1977 to the present.
Well, I looked at 2003. The winners were Kazayashi and Satoshi Kojima, defeating Just Incredible and Umaga in the finals. And among the teams were Bull Buchanan and the Wall brother.
Yeah, there was the people kind of they make fun of it and they made fun of it at the time, but there was it there was the connection because Johnny Ace, John Laurinaitis, was the head of WWE Talent Relations, and when guys like Bull Buchanan, D'Lo Brown, Johnny Stamboli, Chuck Palumbo, Umaga, Jamal, Rosie later, like when those guys would get released, I guess Johnny Ace would kind of do him a solid, get him booked in All Japan. So there was a stable led by Taka Michinoku that was it was like Taka Michinoku and Tai Okeya, and then Gigantes, who was the Wall / Malice, and Bull Buchanan and D'Lo Brown and Jamal, RO&D, Roughly Obsess and Destroy. It was like these are like the cornerstones of my early Japanese wrestling fandom. So I'm one of the few people that has a real fondness for like early to mid aughts pro wrestling because that was when I was getting into Japanese wrestling as a young man. Yeah, and
Right.
by the way, so this tournament, the 2002 tournament, was for the vacant All Japan World Tag Team Championship, and Kojima and Kaya won, and then proceeded to never defend them and vacated them 6 months later because I think Taiyo Kaya was out for about a year with some kind of injury, and they just I don't think he wrestled for close to a year after this.
So 2004 had Great Muta teaming with somebody named Love Machine Steel, who was apparently Jim Steele / Wolf Hawkfield.
Yeah, the
And
Love Machines. That was.
and the other block has Love Machine Storm, who is the aforementioned Arashi,
Yeah, that's
and
Arashi.
Super Love Machine, who is Junji Harada.
That's Junji Harada. Yes. The Love Machines were fun. And then
Oh Lord.
2005 was the year that they got Team 3D, and then they put them over in the tournament, and then they never came back to All Japan.
And so the next year they put over Rosie and Suwama. Oh, I guess they just finished number one, and oh no, so, Kojima and Tenzan won. Kojima's fucking winning every year, it looks like.
I think that might have been. I'd have to look. I think Tenzan and Kojima might have won both the All Japan World Tag League and the New Japan at the time, the G1 Tag League that same year. Which if they didn't win it that year, they had definitely won it other times. See, there was like originally All Japan's tournament, like originally in 1977, it was called like the World Open Tag League, and then every year since it has been the actual name is World's Strongest Tag League, but the English advertising for whatever reason said Real World Tag League, and they just in English speaking, it's always been the Real World Tag League. New Japan though is like as mentioned, we had the MSG Tag League in the 80s, and then in the early 90s it was the Super Grey Tag League, and then later it was the G1 Tag League, and then finally I think 2012 was when they started World Tag League, which is what it still is today, and which will be starting in about 2 weeks.
I thought you were going to say in about 2 hours. Like, why am I not surprised? So, speaking of Japanese pro wrestling, Nikolai Volkoff took on King Cobra back in Mid-South way back when. But they announced that Dusty Rhodes has been taken from the arena while on his feet. Why was he taken from the arena if he was on his feet? Who knows? And then we get an announcement, and this sounds just tremendous. Nikolai Volkoff has demanded TV time in order to call the Russian embassy, which he will do later this week. So he will get time on this show to call the Russian embassy later on. And I got to tell you, geopolitical Bill Watts just sounds depressed.
Did he have Russians in the territory just to give him a pretext to rant about the Soviet Union?
I mean, we had Iron Sheik for like the first week that we were doing this show, and then he continued talking about Sheik for like a year.
Anyway,
Which
that was the most interesting part of this match until the finish when Volkoff busted out a new move.
the double underhook suplex.
Yes, which is
Yes.
an improvement over the press backbreaker.
I'll be honest, like I said, I liked the press backbreaker. I thought it was kind of a neat little way of doing it. It's like a world's strongest slam meets a backbreaker.
Yeah, it wasn't terrible, but I thought the double arm suplex actually looked nice.
All right. Now, in case you didn't know, King Cobra is black. And that's important
Really?
because, yeah, it's normally not important, but it's important because something happened during the commercial break. Now, it always makes me wonder, why did this shit happen during the commercial break? Why doesn't it just happen after the commercial break? But whatever, wrestling is real, damn it. So let's go to Bill Watts, who's going to tell us what happened during the commercial break and then send us the footage of this monumental occurrence.
This has been a crazy day. It's been unusual. It's always unusual in Mid-South, but I think this tops it. During the last commercial break, the most unusual incident I've ever witnessed happened. Butch Reed, I think, has flipped his lid, and you and I were sitting here watching, and I guess our comments, I don't even know what they were on this. Director Orlink is going to replay what happened during the commercial break with Butch Reed and King Cobra. I apologize for anything we may have said that's wrong, Boyd Pierce, but we'll play it because I'm sure there's going to be heavy action taken over this. Let's roll that now. What is Butch Reed doing now? What's Butch Reed doing? Got a can of paint and a brush. Well, no man is his brother. Oh, he just threw the referee out. Well, it looks like we got some action we didn't bargain for, boy. Butch Reed is punishing King Cobra for no reason. No reason. He's got him up into a slam. Cobra was just devastated. Oh, he was just devastated by Volkoff, and now Reed's on him. I don't know why. There's no reason.
I'm like you, Bill. Butch Reed is in the ring, but I don't know what for.
I think the man flipped his lid, Boyd. I think the man has flipped his ever-loving lid. This thing with him and the dog has driven him mad.
There's the third referee in there trying to halt him, and out he goes.
I'll guarantee you those refs don't want back in there, and I don't blame him. He's crazy. He got the yellow paint. He's a yellow paint.
What in the
That's
world?
a direct challenge at the Junkyard Dog. The yellow paint. Reed has challenged the Junkyard Dog.
Right down the middle of his back.
Right down the middle of his back. Here comes the dog with his chain. Reed better get out of there. I think that picture is worth 1,000 words. There's nothing at this time we can do about it. It will be sent to Tampa to Charlie Lay. I'm sure some action will be taken. But again, I think that Butch Reed, the thing with he and Junkyard Dog has him demented, Boyd Pierce. And I'm sure King Cobra, a valiant young man, he'll want a chance to retaliate also. Right now, let's go to...
All right. So I don't know what the hell's going on in Mid-South right now because, one of the things that I always liked about Mid-South was that we slowly built shit up, and like something would happen on this show and then pay off in a month or whatever. And that would drive my former co-host crazy because when you become a fan watching SmackDown where they're doing 10 angles in every segment, watching the show is a little boring at times, but it also it's tremendous in the same way. But like now, like when did we find out that Butch Reed wants to paint the Junkyard Dog yellow? We found that out about 20 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And when are we now hitting the first major angle about that? Now, you know, I I don't know. Is fucking King Cobra also not going to be on the show next week? So we needed to do the angle on the only other black wrestler we have in the company. And King Cobra's not even really in the company. He's here, he's a jobber who appears every so often. But
That's possible.
yeah,
That's possible. It's also we do know that business is kind of down at this point. Maybe it's Watts and or Ernie Ladd or whoever thinking like we need to fucking hotshot something to get some business going.
I mean that's a great idea, but let me just double check before I say something incorrect. But I'm pretty sure that fucking Superdome show coming up in a few weeks, that does a shit crowd. I'm just gonna look that up to double check it right now.
Well, maybe they didn't. Maybe the people didn't respond to the yellow streak. I don't know. I
Eight
thought it'd be a good
eight
angle.
8,000 people were at the
Jesus.
November 19th Superdome, down from 19,000 in July.
Damn.
Yeah, last
Ooh, that's
November show
rough.
did 15,000, and that was on
Yeah.
Thanksgiving last year. And next year's back on Thanksgiving does 14,000.
It was 2 days after the Tulane LSU game. Maybe that was, I don't know.
Actually, it was before the Tulane LSU game because this was the
See,
Saturday before Thanksgiving.
I thought it was a Saturday after Thanksgiving.
Nope.
Oh, so
Yeah.
I want to very quickly apologize to the memory of Hacksaw Butch Reed because I wrote Butch Reed painted a yellow streak down King Cobra's back, and my phone auto corrected it to bitch Steed. So apologies, apologies to the late Bruce Butch Reed.
Poor bitch Steed.
Bitch Steed. Is that the episode title this week? Bitch Steed.
I didn't have one, but I think I do now. Steed.
Yeah.
Alrighty here. Leaping Lanny Poffo versus Tom Stanton. Poffo wins with the top rope moonsault, formally ending my theory that he was only going to get away with that 2 weeks in a row because no one bothered to tell him the rules and the last thing was taped on the same TV taping.
Told
I was wrong.
you.
Yeah. I wanted
Lanny
to give
looked
them
good. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
said I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt, I was
Yeah, I know.
wrong.
Oh yeah, I'm surprised because I think I follow some various like wrestling history stuff on Facebook, and I saw a clipping the other day that was advertising in Paragould, Arkansas, of all places. The main event was Angelo Poffo defending whatever championship against Lanny Poffo, and this was from 1973, which I was surprised. Like, damn, Lanny's already been wrestling at least 11 years at this point, and I just looked it up. he is already he's going to be 30 in about a month here as we watch this.
Damn.
He does not look 30. He looks about 22.
He's a young-looking man. Do you remember that fucking infomercial he was on, the Gazelle?
Was he on a Gazelle commercial?
What was that?
Was he on a Gazelle commercial? I don't remember that. That's fine.
Yeah, what's his name broke into his house and was like, "Hey, Lanny Poffo, you're playing pool." He's like, "Tony Little, how are you doing?" Yeah, my Lanny Poffo impression needs work.
Yeah, I don't really do voices well.
Well, we've been talking about Mid-South for about 53 minutes now. We should probably, I'd say probably start to wrap things up, but we got two promos to go. So let's go to first a very unusual request, which has been granted. Nikolai Volkoff is going to get to call the Russian embassy, allegedly.
Two more standby matches remaining. The Iceman against the Missing Link, Marty and Jerry Oates versus Art Cruz and Larry Higgins. But first, and probably the most unusual request we've ever had, demand. And I think it should be honored because the man had won what he thought was the North American Championship. Nikolai Volkoff, who has registered a protest with the Russian embassy over the situation. He's in the ring now with Reeser Bowden, and he demands to lodge a public protest against Mid-South. We'll go to Reeser now.
Nikolai Volkoff has insisted that he be allowed the time to make some comments.
That's right. I protest the Russian embassy. The kind of Mid-South sport take my championship belt away from me. They take it away with a coward's way, like Americans do all the time. They don't show up at Moscow Olympic because they was cowards. Now they come here, they don't have nobody after I beat fair and square, the punk. They come here and take my belts away because they have nobody to come here and wrestle me like man to man to take my belt. That's why I protest. I don't protest attacking to Grenada. I protest to taking my belts away because that was the coward's way. Same way they come, they sign contract with the Russians to sell over it, and the Russians come with the money and they pull it back. Why? Why Americans don't have their war and keep their war and be like men and fight like men? They'll say, hey, do I hide behind somebody's back? When I come to this ring to fight, I come here and fight right to the face of the face.
All right. So unfortunately, we didn't get to see Nikolai Volkoff call the Russian embassy on the show, but he did. He's launched a protest against Mid-South Wrestling. They stole his North American title because they didn't have anyone to come beat him face to face and man to man. He won the belt fair and square. And I mean, we never saw the match. And it was never implied that he cheated to win. That's what was the most fucked up thing about it. By all accounts, Nikolai Volkoff cleanly won the North American title, and then it got taken from him, and he has a legitimate gripe.
I agree. His grievances are valid. Boy, yeah. When the crowd started chanting USA, Watts just about creamed his pants.
Well, Dusty Rhodes, who a few minutes ago we were told was led out of the arena, has apparently been led back into the arena because, in case you can figure out, that's why the crowd exploded in cheers, not because they, suddenly joined the motherland or whatever. So Dusty runs off the rightful North American heavyweight champion, and then he goes to attempt to cut a promo with Reeser Bowden. And let's just say I had to fast forward 11 seconds before I pressed play because Dusty needed some time to catch his breath before cutting this promo. And let's just say here, I guess, I don't know how old Dustin is. I think Dustin's probably in high school at this point in 1983. I think Dustin must have been in a high school drama club or whatever because Dusty was taking his cues from drama class.
I was born an American citizen, and my daddy died in this country here. And I've always been a big fan of the Dogs Duggan and everybody. But I tell you what, and you write it down in your book, this country belongs to the free. Russia is not part of my repertoire. When I watch TV, Volkoff, and we put a man on the moon, and y'all can't even come close, then that's awesome. And when I see my baby walk across this free earth, that's awesome. And when I see people like the wrestling fans, no matter what damn color they are, that's awesome. And Volkoff, I'm awesome. I am America. I am free. I am life. I am liberty. And thank God I don't have to live in a country like you do. One time. A lot of people died in other countries to make this country free. And Dog, and Duggan, and Ellen, you stand back. Because this is mine, baby. Volkoff, you're mine.
The American Dream, Dusty Rhodes.
All right, so what the fuck was he talking about?
I wrote Dusty cuts a promo marginally more intelligible than Volkoff's. That was only, by the way, Dustin was 14 here in 1983.
Yes. And in case you're wondering who his baby was, Cody wasn't born yet. It was Cody's older sister, Margaret, who's also known as Teal.
Teal Margaret.
Yeah, she was 1 year old at this point. So
Here was Cody born 86.
What was that?
What year was Cody born? 86?
Cody was 85.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, it's something, I guess, here. But Dusty's crying about people dying in other countries. And motherfucking Texas. I'll let you guess why I said
Motherfucking Texas
motherfucking
is
Texas.
right.
Yep.
You know what?
Anyway,
It's like having a group project for school. I did my shit right. It's just all the other people fucked up.
yeah. The Earth is awesome, and he is awesome, and America is awesome, and Russia is not part of his repetenda.
Repetenda. The fuck is a
that what he said?
repetenda?
This man is one of the best promos of all time. Just remember that. This was fucking melodramatic.
This was not in the upper percentile.
Yeah. Iceman King Parsons versus Max, who did not have General Skandor Akbar. Apparently, Mid-South and World Class did a trade this week, and even that's not even true because Dog appeared on both shows. Iceman wins with she calls that the rear view, but it was called the Rumper Stumper.
I'm not calling it that. I will call it the butt and nothing else.
Well, Watts was happy because for some reason he got to talk about Russia again during this match, which of course makes him happy. And then we find out some really despicable news. Next week is going to be Buddy Nichols from KLB TV in Alexandria, Louisiana.
I'm so excited. I was as excited for that as Watts was about just just basking in the afterglow of that Dusty promo during this match.
Oh, Lord. And by the way, we're going to have a special montage of Jim Duggan. So no matches, nobody even being told is going to wrestle next week, but we are going to get a montage with Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Gonna be a montage. Even Rocky had a montage.
By the way, I know we spent like an hour talking about Mid-South, and we played a lot of Mid-South audio this week. There's exactly one thing that we're going to play for World Class. We don't even really need to play it, but in the interest of fairness, we should probably play it just to give World Class something. But any final thoughts on Mid-South?
I don't know. When I saw the final match was King Parsons against Max, my first thought was I have died and gone to hell. But it was fun. Like I've said 100 times, Parsons is fine on offense, and they went with what worked. They did not have Parsons sell for Max much, so this wasn't as bad as it could have been.
All right. So moving on to World Class Championship Wrestling, let's go to our intro of the show with Bill Mercer.
Welcome to World Class Championship Wrestling from the famed Sportatorium in Dallas, Texas. I'm Bill Mercer. We've got tremendous main events. A tag team and women wrestlers. First, that tag team main event. It will be Johnny Mantell and Chris Adams teaming up. Mantell from Montague County, Chris Adams from England. And then Michael Hayes and Terry Gordy, the fabulous Freebirds. That's one main event. And then we have the young lady from Canada, Princess Victoria, against the United States, Judy Martin. That'll be a great one. We'll have all those exciting events. But first, we've got Black Gordman and Mike Reed on World Class Championship Wrestling.
I didn't know we were at war with Canada, apparently. But Canada's Princess Victoria is going to take on the United States' Judy Martin.
A proxy war for that never-ending feud between the U.S. and Canada.
Oh, God. You remember when TNA would have Dustin Rhodes feuding with Team Canada, and they kept calling it a classic battle between Texas and Canada? I'm sure you don't, but it's like, I promise it happened.
I believe you. I'm trying to think. Was Cowboy Bret Hart a turncoat in that war?
Probably not, since he wouldn't deign step foot onto TNA soil.
No, I was just making a joke about him being Cowboy Bret Hart, but that's because Alberta is the Texas of Canada.
If WCW was based in Canada instead of the United States, Russo totally would have turned Bret Hart into an anti-Canadian heel, right?
Absolutely. Have you ever had Canadian beef, Alberta beef?
No.
It's fucking amazing. So good.
I've never been to Canada.
Yeah, I don't know. Sure, I'm sure you can get it. Canada's nice. We went on a little trip there about 9 years ago, and I had a very good time. At the time, I don't know what it's like now, but at the time we had a very good exchange. We had a favorable to us exchange rate, so I was just big balling, throwing down, like buying steaks and sushi and shit. That was a good time.
Mm-hmm. Well, the popular Mike Reed was out first to take on Blackie Gordman. Mark Lawrence is in rehab, so we have the backup ring announcer Joe Ranelli. Mercer talks about the upcoming holiday Star Wars without specifying which holiday we're talking about. And then he also mentions how the Freebirds have an upcoming tag team match where the loser leaves the area for 1 year. And I'm like, I hope it's against the Mongol and John Mantell.
Oh, God, no. They said later something being like between Carey and Hayes. Oh my God, this territory for a year without the Freebirds. Fucking kill me now.
Wait, are you sure the Von Erichs aren't going to lose?
Yeah. I don't think that. I
Oh,
don't think they're
so
gone for a year though, are they? Because they're still like, aren't they there for the Parade of Champions?
they come back pretty much immediately.
Yeah. Because the
Um,
yeah the David Memorial Show is Fritz's return, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah.
So Popular Mike Reed reversed a hammerlock, which made Blackie yell, "Ay, ay, ay, ay!" And then, after an incredibly long 9 minutes, Blackie won with another type of neck breaker, which you and I would refer to as a DDT.
What Black Gordman referred to as the Diamond Twist. As I stated last week, to the best of my knowledge, as far as I know, to the best of any extant evidence, Black Gordman was the first person to use the move that we would call the DDT. But yeah,
Now,
this match, like, there was nothing wrong with it. It was just one of those matches that felt unnecessarily long that are typical of this show. And then I just thought, I guess we should count ourselves lucky that we're watching this and not the Fort Worth TV. This match was 8 fucking minutes. It was
yes,
very unnecessary.
it, it gets worse, actually, because up next we have Princess Victoria from our neighbors to the north versus the very capable Judy Martin from Kansas City in a very special match. Now, Joe Ranelli might be as drunk as Mark Lawrence, or the graphics guy may be getting an ass kicking. As Ranelli introduces Martin as 147 pounds and Victoria as 132 pounds, but the graphics list them as 155 for Martin and 145 for Victoria.
Well, why don't they do that
Well,
today? Why don't they announce the ladies' weights today?
I noticed that when I was a kid, like when I was 12 or 13 years old, that they never announced the women's weights. Unless it was somebody like, eventually like Awesome Kong, who like that was part of the thing. It's like, oh, she's 270 pounds. But like at the same time, it's like, if you're going to introduce Awesome Kong as 270 pounds, like tell us that Gail Kim's 120 pounds or whatever she is.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. There's no basis of comparison.
you know.
So
By the way,
Judy
Victor.
Martin,
Mhm.
Judy Martin had on the silver entrance gear that matched her boots, and Bill Mercer goes, "She looks like she just flew in from Mars." And I
See,
gotta, I gotta laugh at that.
I thought he said that about Princess Victoria with the flowers on her tights.
No, it was about Judy Martin's fucking silver entrance gear.
Oh Lord. I wrote, are we sure everyone on this show wasn't drunk?
I'm drunk.
Mercer refers to Victoria as a Indian, which I guess is only slightly better than if he'd called her a Native American. Um, the crowd was not into this at first, and in fact, the only vocal people you could hear were people mocking Princess Victoria for being of native descent, as there was somebody in the crowd doing the "ah, la, 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 la," and it was the loudest thing you could hear for a while.
Fucking
Um,
Texas.
Thankfully, though, that ended up being a minority of the crowd because everyone else did eventually act appropriately. Mercer, I got confused because I thought he said Mercer. Yeah, I thought he said Mercer. I thought Mercer said that Kamala and JYD were going to be in a great tag team match, but he meant that we're going to have JYD versus Kamala and a great tag team match. But suddenly I want Kamala and Junkyard Dog as partners.
JYD and Kamala definitely were not in a great match.
No. Martin rolled outside for a breather and then tried to break the count, but biased fucking David Manning chastised her and guilted her into getting back into the ring, even though by the rules of wrestling she could break the count and stay outside. What the hell?
At one
This
point,
was. Hmm?
Princess Victoria threw a chop that was so wild that I thought it halfway missed and hit David Manning. But then Judy Martin stole it like she'd been hit with a hammer. So I don't know what the fuck.
So this was another match that just wouldn't fucking end. And eventually Victoria won with a running crossbody. And I'm sure Trey is going to tell us differently, but this match went at least 20 minutes.
I had trouble hearing the bells on this show, which is sometimes a problem on World Class with the loud crowd and the sound mixing, but this was a hair under 11 minutes. Now,
why?
Look, I'm gonna defend this just a little bit. This was not a great action match. This was not fucking Manami Toyota and Kyoko Inoue. But as far as like a match with Martin working heel and getting heat on the babyface and the babyface selling well and making a good comeback, complete with the Chief J Strongbow War Dance, by the way. I don't know. This wasn't the worst match I've ever seen. This wasn't the worst match on this show.
Well, up next was a musical tribute to Kevin Von Erich. Now, he didn't die or anything. We just randomly needed slow motion footage of him walking to the ring and kissing women and children because it was better than the wrestling we've seen on this show so far. It also included highlights of that match with Flair from April. In fact, if we were to go back and watch it, I'm sure him walking to the ring and kissing children and women was the entrance to the Flair match.
There are 15-year-olds on TikTok doing better video editing than this.
Well, to be fair, this is 1983.
What do you think the original song was? That's what I was wondering.
Oh, I can't wait to see how they change Yellow Rose of Texas.
Oh, God. Okay, so everyone knows I live in Texas. I've lived in Texas for close to 10 years now. I am not a native Texan. I am a transplant. It is so fucking trippy. You get used to it, and eventually you just kind of go along with it. But the first time you hear the opening bit of the Yellow Rose of Texas, and everybody unanimously, it's so fucking trippy. It's just holy shit, you guys are really fucking into my late father-in-law used to say every Texan has the Yellow Rose of Texas tattooed on their ass cheek.
So, I know you're a transplanted Texan, but do you have a Yellow Rose of Texas on your ass cheek?
I do not. I only have one tattoo.
Okay. Where is it and what is it?
It is on my upper left arm, and it is Captain America's shield, and it bears the legend, "No, you move."
Okay.
There's a favorite, and if you watched the movie Captain America Civil War, it's in the movie, it's the speech that Sharon Carter gives at Agent Carter's funeral. I can't remember. Peggy Carter gives at Peggy Carter's funeral. But in the comic, it's from a scene in the Civil War arc in the comics where Captain America is talking to Spider-Man. And it's, I can't remember the whole thing, but this country was founded on the idea that essentially you'll stand up for what's right, no matter what the press or the politicians or the mob say. It is your responsibility to plant yourself like a tree beside the river of truth. And if the whole world tells you to move, you say, "No, you move." So that's my reminder to to stand my ground on my morals.
Sounds good. Well, Kamala took on Junkyard Dog next. Joe Ranelli said that this was the main event. Lies. He also said Junkyard Dog was 300 pounds. Lies. The graphics guy said Kamala was 6'10" and 330 pounds. Moments after Ranelli said he was 385 pounds. Lies. Someone needs to be fired this week. Truth. So this
Ken Mantell needs to be.
Yeah. This was a scientific catch-as-catch-can match with Dog and Kamala exchanging the most complex of shoot-style holds, which Royce Gracie, because I couldn't even pronounce Royce Gracie's name right, Royce Gracie studied in preparation for UFC 1. Lies. So I'm going to list most of the moves here in order. Kamala choked Junkyard Dog. Junkyard Dog put on a chin lock. So Kamala put on a titty twister. Kamala used the big splash, but Dog powered out of it and started what would allegedly be a big comeback. Dog, however, tripped over his own 2 feet coming off the ropes, and everyone blamed Akbar, even though we did not see it. Dog dragged Akbar into the ring, which then led to Kamala being disqualified. Funny how that works. Akbar holds Dog for Kamala, but Dog moves and Akbar gets chopped in the head, and Dog clears the ring. Notably, Kamala wanted to get back in the ring despite Friday and Akbar begging him not to after a few weeks ago when they demanded he get in the ring with Kevin Von Erich, and he was like, fuck no.
So I wrote that they basically just tried to strangle each other. I swear to God, this match went 5.5 minutes. Dog did a fucking sleeper hold for 2 minutes. And then this Akbar tripped Dog, I guess. I didn't care enough to go back and look. And then Dog yanked Akbar in the ring, beat up all the heels by himself. And that was a point that I noted. He doesn't even work here.
Oh, Lord.
This was this wasn't good, but it was dumb. Oh, by the way, since we're talking about Kamala, I just want to very briefly shout out Emil J, who's the ring announcer for Game Changer Wrestling. Saw him posted a tweet today that was, they say you can't wear your candidate's clothing when you vote, but I just voted, and he was wearing a brown shirt with the moon on the belly and the stars on the chest.
That is tremendous.
Fantastic.
That is tremendous. Hey, well, Chris Adams and John E. Mantell took on Michael Hayes and Terry Gordy, allegedly. Gordy attacked Mantell with the Oriental Spike, which to me makes him a babyface, but Adams breaks it up. I knew he was a heel. Mantell was injured on the floor, and Mercer realized after a minute that it was the spike and not the lumbering effect of Terry Gordy that injured him. I gotta say, Bill Mercer does not pay attention to these fucking shows.
How did it take him so long to figure out that it was the Oriental Spike when that's been the fucking storyline for like a month now that Terry Gordy is using the Oriental? It's been since he came back from his Japan tour in like August, so it's been like at least 2 months.
And also, how do they not just retape the commentary?
Look, Bill Mercer is a legitimate journalist. He covered the JFK assassination. He ain't got time to worry about what the fuck Terry Gordy's doing with his thumb.
So we're going to give him a pass forever because he did the JFK assassination?
I'm going to give him a pass this one time.
Sounds good, I guess. So the good news is Mantell is unable to continue, and we found out that Adams can either continue in a 2-on-1 handicap match or forfeit the match. I want it to be remembered, those are his 2 options. Handicap match, forfeit the match. There was
no
not
other
a
options.
third option.
Nothing else was even mentioned as a possibility.
No.
Go on.
There was no, hey, we'll go to commercial and you run to the back to see if you can get somebody to come out with you. No. So Adams is a baby face, so of course he is not going to forfeit the match. He's gonna go and fight and wrestle to the best of his abilities. Kevin Von Erich came out to interfere in this match. And if you might recall in the last match, General Skandor Akbar got dragged into the ring by the babyface, which made a disqualification for his man. Kevin Von Erich physically got into the ring, and Bronco Lubick ordered him to get out of the ring and go stand in the corner. And then, if that's not enough, because you can be like, well, he didn't touch either the Freebirds. Okay, fine, whatever. Chris Adams then tagged out. Kevin came in and beat up both Hayes and Gordy, which should be a disqualification. But instead, Kevin pinned Hayes with the roll-up part of a sunset flip for the win. Terry Gordy was so mad that he took a bump. And during the 30-second replay, the crowd emptied to an insane degree.
So, I don't know. I guess if you're Von Erich and these referees are so blatantly biased that you can just do whatever the fuck you want.
Mm-hmm.
I do have to note a mildly amusing coincidence in that okay, on the Oh My Godcast bonus show that we were supposed to record this week, and we did not for reasons, and we will record. we will record in the near future. We watched TWA, Joel Goodhart's TWA, the Northeast Indie promotion, Autumn Armageddon 1990. And who should show up as a tag team on that show but Kevin Von Erich and Chris Adams?
Okay, I was really hoping you weren't going to say John Mantell.
No, not John Mantell.
I was worried that you were going to say John Mantell.
No, so. I understand. Okay. I understand the concern, but no.
Yes. All right. So, okay, I watched the guy who uploads these on YouTube, which is what I pull up to air the audio from, and he gets it from the cock. Did they air this entire promo for them, the Freebirds?
I also have the Peacock version, so what I saw was what you saw.
He got cut off mid-sentence?
Not that I noticed. I don't know. The only thing I noticed was that Gordy is still trying with that little wisp of a mustache.
Well, next week, we're going to have a riveting, brand new tag team match we've never seen on this show before. Hayes and Gordy versus Kevin and Kerry.
Yeah. I feel like I've seen that match. Dude, so about a couple of weeks ago, I got into a dumb conversation on Twitter, because what the fuck other kind are there? And somebody posted a fucking Mount Rushmore of Texas wrestling, and it was like Steve Austin and The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels and Booker T. And I was like, any Mount Rushmore of Texas wrestling that has no Von Erichs or Funks on it is a fucking joke. And some idiot goes, oh, you're probably like 30 and have only seen 3 Von Erichs matches and you're just trying to sound smart. Motherfucker, I have seen more than 3 Kerry Von Erich versus Michael Hayes matches from the middle 6 months of 1983.
I feel like we've seen about 50 of them.
Jesus. Hey, you know what? When you got a hot territory and it's drawing money, I guess you keep doing it till it's not. In theory, you're setting up something else, but they don't really get around to that here.
All right. Well, that's gonna do it from this week's show here. Before we finish things up, do you want to plug anything?
Yeah. If you haven't subscribed to the Oh My Godcast yet, go check it out. ohmygodcast.com. We were gonna do a bonus show this week, and we're not. And I'm not going to be able to do it this coming week. So it'll happen in the future, and we'll be back to doing ECW reviews very soon.
All of our listeners need to go listen to that.
Yeah. All one of them. But yeah, just love your family. Don't take life for granted. And I hope by the time you're listening to this, you know what's going on in the world and it's not as horrifying as it might be.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this week. Well, thank everyone for listening. Hope you all enjoyed it, and we'll talk to you again in 7 days.
Bye.